Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Good morning and welcome to the SPO podcast, where we create strategic project leaders. Are you excited to be here today? Because today is going to be action-packed. Here we connect strategy, project management, and leadership to help organizations, to help leaders, even fuel global economies. Our goal is to ensure that we increase project success. We ensure that organizations are more profitable. They can connect the value that they've actually initially intended for and create the results that their stakeholders, their shareholders, actually want at the end of the day. I'm so glad because I'm your host, Paul F. Alby. For those who don't actually know me, I'm all about, strategy and projects. It's kind of like my bread and butter. But let me know first where you're joining us from today, because today is going to be interesting because I've got a colleague and a friend who is joining us all the way from Berlin. We're going to be getting to know a lot of things about projects and strategy, his journey, and most of all, how you can future-proof your career, right? Who doesn't want that? You want to be sure that in the next 5 to 10 years, you're consistently valuable and everyone always wants to work with you. But before we get there, I want to know exactly where you're joining me from. Let me know in the comments specifically where you're joining from. And so we can actually share that. I am joining you from, I say like the chilly city in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And you're going to get a guess from what my guest is actually joining from. But let's kind of get into it. Today, my guest is actually a thought leader. He's been in this world of project management, strategy and change and stuff. He's done a lot of things, but for his goal is actually to help individuals and organizations build skills, confidence, and a mindset to actually grow and lead impactful projects. Obviously, we're all about project management. But what he actually does is actually great is that he's done it for the past 2 decades. I think it's going to be very, very old. Think about that, like 20 years, like he's been doing this, but he's pushed boundaries, went ahead, worked across different organizations, different multinationals, as well as even now pushing to set up his own consultancy company to ensure that he makes maximum impact. That's definitely a good thing. But the goal about what pulled me to my guest today was the fact that he really has that personal touch. He wants to create leaders who don't just impact their organizations, but build the competence that they can transfer across different verticals. You can use that, the way he transcended, he moved from working company to now even owning his own consultancy company. And for some other person, it's like, I want to become maybe a director, or you want to move up the corporate ladder. But he's been able to do that. He's going to be sharing all of that and more. Can you please join me as I welcome on stage my dear Bruno Morgante? Bruno, how are you doing today?
Hello, Fola. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
So great to have you on the show. This has been much awaited, right? We've been waiting for this to happen for a long time. And It's such an honor to have you live with us. I would say this morning, but please let us know where you're joining us from and what's the weather like where you're at.
Well, I'm joining from Berlin in Germany. It's 6 p.m. So it's not sunny anymore, but it was a beautiful sunny day. And I think today we probably even touched the 18 degrees Celsius.
My goodness, what are you talking about, Bruno? 18? When I have the snow on my driveway. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. Anyway, I think we're going to trade places after the show. I'm just going to teleport over to Europe. But it's such an honor to have you today. And I want to say thank you. We already have some people joining. Well, we have Evelyn joining us from Ghana. And we also have Gloria from Nigeria. Great to have you as well. It's such a pleasure. But before we get into anything, I always love to start with something fun. I know you've done so much for organization, but tell us a fun fact about you beyond the beards that we can see, but a fun fact that no one else knows about you.
Well, probably someone knows about it, but okay. I could say during the university years, I was organizing concerts, music concerts. And I started with, back then, my best friend, starting with nothing, just a brilliant idea. And we made great things. We allowed lot of bands, more than 500 bands playing live music on stage in the best clubs in Milano, Roma, Bologna, Torino. So it was all across Italy. It was fantastic. It was
my goodness.
Yeah.
So if we want to have a project party, right, you're going to be the right guy to come to. Let's bring the party on.
I learned so much in that experience. I can tell you, Fola.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so great. You see, you've just gotten to know a little bit about Bruno. So he brings music as well into the world of strategy and project management. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. Just give us a little bit of a detail. I know I introduced you, but can you just highlight some key things about your journey, from project management and strategy? What has it been like when you think about your overall career? Because we're going to be talking about how to future-proof your career. So tell us a little bit about that. And I'm going to share a little secret about mine too.
I think when you look at the last 21, 22 years for me, park the project side of things somewhere. I joined corporate. I joined corporate after university, like many, and I entered in project management accidentally, like many of us. It was my manager saying, "Hey, Bruno, I think you actually are going to be a good project manager," and I even didn't know what project management was back then. So then, I started, and it was like this. First, a little work package, then a small project, then a bigger project, then a program, then it was a multi-million-dollar program. And then I moved. That was an important milestone in my career, moving out from Italy to Berlin, Germany. And after a while, I had the opportunity to take the lead of a PMO. It was the first PMO that I led. And since then, I essentially spent my time having fun designing, building, leading project and portfolio management offices in different organizations, different industries. And this is where I discovered the power of these human skills, the human connection, the power that we all can bring to the conversation, we people. Yeah.
Did you hear that? He's been leading, building, defining, also orchestrating change. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very great point. I love the fact that you've connected that to the human-centered piece of it. Because at the end of the day, I tell everyone, when you do a survey, pretty much at least maybe 6 out of 10 people already have the technical skills, the normal degree. When you go in the organization, right? Everyone has that foundation. That's why they got the job. But what's going to differentiate you now from the next person who's going to get the promotion? What's going to differentiate you from the next person who's going to be able to accelerate their career even faster? That's where the human-centered skills actually come from. And just like you, similarly, for those who obviously don't know, I similarly worked my way up. It's been a mix of so many. I worked in Africa, I worked in Europe as well, and now in North America, kind of like the project management and the PMO. I kind of had a mix managing projects as well, and got into the project management, the PMO space. But for you, it was an accident. Mine was intentional. I wanted to get into project management. I was working in HR and recruitment. And then, my husband told me about Prince 2. This was like 23 years ago. He was going to write the Prince 2 exams in, outside of London. And I'm like, Prince 2, what's that? Prince King? So in Europe, I'm like, what the heck is Prince 2? At the time when we met, it was just a couple of years into that. And then he kind of told me, this about project management, project and controlled environment, the project management designation and all that. We kind of got into it, and then we spoke, and then he gave me this book and all that. I'm like, this is interesting. But what was even interesting, just to be truthful, was like, at the time, I'm like, these people earn a lot of money as well. I was doing, customer service and HR. And then at the time, you could get a PMO support role for like £300 a day. I'm like, okay, sign me up. But when I looked into it, I found the connection where a lot of the stuff that I was already doing were already projects. I'm like, there's so much connections in this. I could already leverage a lot of the stuff that I have already been doing, but I just never named them as projects. Mm-hmm. And fast forward, less than, I think, about 12 months or so between when I found out to when I got my first role into project management. And I've loved it from then. I got to manage multi-million-dollar projects in the UK for the government, the Transport for Department for Transport in London, worked for the stock exchange, moved to North America. I've had a mix of that and worked within the PMO. And then I got headhunted and I came into Alberta, Canada. But the point is that there's project management in almost everything, and being able to translate what you currently do to what exactly Project Management truly is into that lingua, you find out that, we've already been doing this. And so let us for those who are actually watching as well, let us have your questions, put them in the comments, because we need to get Bruno in the hot seat, right? He's gonna answer your questions at time to get into everything so we could get all the juicy intelligence out of him. So Bruno, thank you so much once again for joining. We want to get into the question. I know people are eager to say, how can we future improve our career? What would you say really is one of the most important? I know you've already alluded to the human skills, but what exactly are those human skills?
People tend to call them in different ways. One of the most broad term is soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
They are not soft. They are not soft. They are actually, foundational skills. And we need them. We have always needed them. It's not something new. It's not that, right now in 2026 we need them. No. We have always needed them. This is about how you interact with each other. How do you communicate? How do you read a room? How do you read between the lines whenever you have a conversation with in whatever role you have. Now, when you look at it from the lenses of a project manager, well, one of the most important elements, it is to bring all these different stakeholders that you have, all the people around the project, which they come from, different countries, different backgrounds, they have different interests, and you need to bring all of them together around the same table, sometimes a virtual table. And in the end, you need to ensure that you have something agreed upon. You don't need to love each other. You don't need to go on vacation together.
I wish, Bruno, but why not?
It would be nice. It would be nice, but that's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too a dream. Let's stay a little bit more concrete.
Let's come to reality, right? Let's come down to
exactly.
earth. Okay.
Exactly. But at least it's bringing these people and agree upon a way forward. And that could be a decision, an important decision for the project. It could be the next step. It could be the next milestone. But still, it is something that is important. And we need to develop those human skills in order to become good and then great. And I will talk about this good and great later, because I know we will get there, because that's always something that comes into the conversation. But it is incredibly important. Yes.
I love the fact that you mentioned the idea of it being like a soft skill, but I think it's really hard, right? It's not soft at all. And thank God you alluded to that. The fact is that beyond anything, there's a famous saying that says, people don't forget what you did to them, but they actually remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And in reality, although we say we don't need to go on vacation with our colleagues, but we all come to the workplace and we spend the better part of our lives at work. Think about a normal, 8 to 10 hour working days. You come there and what's left when you get back home. And so people are stressed to bring everything else. And you want to be the one who can help make things smoother. We're working on product, we're working on initiatives. You want to be able to communicate in a way that everyone understands. People are, they can connect to why we're doing the project. They can connect to the message of what's the value we're trying to create. And you can do it in a way that it's clear. And so I did a lot of research as well, and I think about the whole power skill thing that PMI also calls it. But it's for everyone, just take a step back and just say, you are trying to get a job done. What can we do to make the experience seamless? We know exactly what the requirements are. And so every time we show up in the workplace, it's about going back to recalibrate and think, okay, what can I do differently, right? Is it the way I present the data? Is it the way, I come probably with some Tim Hortons or some coffees to the office? But seriously, those other side, just asking the person, like, how was your day? Get the subtle things. Mm-hmm. And when I speak to top leaders who have been able to move up the ranks pretty quickly, they talk about the technical competence, but again, they talk about how they're able to really, break down the business ideas, but also how they can communicate that and build the community and, people around them. That has really helped them, move up pretty fast. And so I really want to get the feedback from those who actually join us. Share your comments as well and let us know what foundational skills you've probably learned, or you've probably had to go from, as Bruno said, from good to great, and see how we can kind of push those competencies even further. Now I know we talk about, those human skills. AI is just something that we cannot stop thinking about, Bruno. It's like everyone says, oh, AI this and AI that and blah, 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 blah. And now with this, from your perspective, we know the technical competence is actually there now, but what human capabilities will become even more valuable now that we are facing artificial intelligence?
The earlier I said those human skills were always important. It's not something that we start to have right now, and I believe that. But then when we look at the current situation with AI impacting already us, it's being embedded in a lot of our processes. What is that we should keep doing, and I believe and start doing, and I believe that there are two important angles to use here. So one of them is those human skills that we mentioned. Now, I love to say that until we humans are being part of the picture, and I truly believe we will still be part of the picture for a very long time, we need this. We need these skills. We need to build those connections among people. So those skills are absolutely going to stay. They are not going away they are now not important anymore because there is AI. Not at all. They actually are even more important now because this interaction is still going to happen. Now, if potentially, fast forward, we are not there anymore, that's another story. and probably we will have much bigger problems to discuss. But then there is another angle, as I said, there is another angle to look at the picture, and I believe I would call it a judgment. It's the capability that we need to have as humans to understand and to judge what is around us, and definitely also what is coming from AI. That is the critical thinking that we need to apply, and imagine whatever AI tool you use in your organization to bring you data, to bring you predictions, to bring you a way forward. Do you blindly trust it, or do you actually want to look at that and take that judgment, that human judgment, and say, okay, does it make sense? You have a set of additional elements which may not be part of your data, so maybe they are not even considered as part of the input or the results that AI is going to give you. That this is where you need to apply this judgment. So it's a mix of the two things, which is on one side doubling down on those human skills, and on the other side having this judgment.
This is actually great. I know you spoke about judgment. I don't want to steal the thunder. There's something that I worked in, and I share that in my taught leadership spaces, and I mentor people. I always think about the word called the human advantage. And the fact is that for those who obviously use Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever those tools are, there are times you could even type and put in a prompt to maybe review this particular stuff, and it comes up with something just totally at times abstract. You're like, where did you get this from? What made me laugh so hard, Bruno? One says, I'm so sorry, right? I just decided to make some things up. And I'm like, yeah, they haven't got that holistic strategic thinking. So for me, it's H on the human advantage is about holistic strategic thinking. So AI is there, but for you are able to bring the context of the different variables, what you're thinking about, that the computer obviously doesn't know. That's a skill set that you can only have and you can actually bring in. That's the H part. The U is about uncertainty navigation. At the end of the day, the computer is programmed. They have their data, they have the information, you can put it in, but you are the one that can say, from experience, I think that there's some ambiguity here. There's some levels of things that I think this isn't actually clear. You can bring the risk perspective into it. You can do the scenario thinking. Those are the human skills that, believe it or not, no machine can actually have. The M there is about meaningful creation. You bring meaning to the information. So when information is presented to you, you can actually understand where exactly is this going? What's the cultural alignment? When you talk about communication, how are you bringing that information into play? That's the meaningful context that comes in there. That's the
Mhm.
empathy. Then A is about adaptive collaboration as well. You can easily adapt, right? You can work independently, you can leverage, you look at different geographies, you can do stuff, but for computers, cannot. So that adaptability, that piece comes in, that's the A. And then the N for me, I love neuroscience. I think about the neurocognitive awareness. Like, what part of it is there a confirmation bias here? Like, you're trying to talk to someone in a meeting. I don't even experience this, Bruno, where people kind of feel that, oh, yeah, because the VP actually said that. And everyone's like, oh, yes, that's the way we should go. But no, you should be able to like differentiate this and say, where things going? Read the room, as you said before. Is there like any overconfidence piece? Is there like the herd thinking where it's more of, yes, we said that. You bring that as well into play because you've got your cognitive piece to it. All of this gives you that human advantage that no one has. And these are the things, that's why I said these skills are not soft, Bruno. They are hard. It takes time to master them. It takes time to build them. And those are the things that can help you become better as we go. And a bit of a segue, when you think about this, I want to also build a connection. When we look back at your career journey, Bruno, from how you started, have you been able to kind of pull a thread and say, in this particular scenario, this particular skill maybe helped you stand out and probably helped you gain that next leap and that promotion? How are you able to highlight what's one particular thing that has really, really helped you? Is it maybe like relationships, or is it more of your communication style? But what is it? Because I know a lot of people in the audience are wondering, like, they want to, advance their career. And they're like, fine, I think I'm good at communicating, but how do they really position that? How have you done it?
What happened to me, and later on, the funny part is that it happened to me, and a few years later, I saw it also happening to the people in my teams. So when I was already in charge of a team, as I said, leading a PMO, I could see it also in some of them, not all of them. And this is what briefly I said before, it's the transition between good to great. So let's say you start from whatever job. Let's take, of course, project management. You start, you have your skills, your knowledge, and you start your career. Now, what you need to do, the first step is to become a good project manager. So what is a good project manager? We could say it's someone that is getting things done. It's delivering the project. It is accordingly to whatever set of criteria, KPIs or success elements we want to have into the conversation. Now, at a certain point, you might become a good project manager, or what could be called a good project manager. Then you realize that there is a series of things that you need to start doing that you maybe didn't, or not as much. I think it's the concept of what got you here won't get you there. And so when I looked at my team, and later on, in retrospective, thinking about me, it is something that I went through as well. When I look at that specific PMO, which is until today, it's the one that I consider the best PMO that I have ever led. I call it my dream team. And actually, everyone that was part of it, we call it the dream team. There were, 3 people in the team that when I was looking at them, I could say, they are not good, they are great. So what were they doing differently than others? What was it? And it's a series of things. Clearly, they were listening in a much deeper way. They were asking better questions to their stakeholders, to the people in the project. They were great at communication. Absolutely. They were effective. They knew how to use their voice, their body. They were great at reading a room. I said it before, working well with others, staying engaged and motivated, even when things were going wrong. They were able to build trust with the people around them. And one more thing, definitely, they had this big picture thinking. They were able to look at the holistic view and understand, okay, what actually was happening. If we nail it down, now all those elements, they are part of something that we know, which is called emotional intelligence. So yes, they were good they had good skills about emotional intelligence. And this is incredibly important. So developing that, it is what will make you move from good to great. In my opinion, it is what you need to have, not to have your career stagnate. No.
That's right. I think it's I love to even break that down really further. I love people thinking about it and just being very, very personal. To say, if you were the one who owned the business, right? You were the one that owned the whole organization, what would you want? And so removing any bias and say, have a role in a box here. But now let's forget the fact that we're project managers or you're a vice president of strategy, whatever. Now you say you are the one that calls the shot. At the end of the day, what matters is that you want to be able to achieve your goals and objectives. That's what it is, right? And just as you said, that big picture thinking means you can connect what truly matters to the organization. That's what I call strategic thinking. You are able to balance longer term impact to shorter term wins, connecting that back to our strategic goals and objectives. Because at the end of the day, it's still what matters to do. Why exactly are we in business? And if whatever you do doesn't help move the needle for the organization, then why are you actually there? And so for those people who can easily identify those pain points of the organization, help them reduce the risk exposures, help them create better customer experience, help them increase or accelerate project success. Those are the ones they want to come to, right? Those are the ones that they're going to say, goodness, Bruno, we have a problem with our transformation. Could you come and help us? Because they know that you can connect those things that matter to us and coalesce the team together, bring people together when they can work to achieve that actual goal. So beyond whatever role that you have, I want us to throw that out the window for a second and say, let me begin to think like the boss at the top, the CEO, the person who at the end of the day is actually calling the shots for the overall organization. Say, what do they really care about? And can I draw a dotted line back there? And does that mean the way I communicate to my team? Does that mean the way I present the information I share? Those things are what will help you definitely start. Because you want to say something, Bruno. You were just itching.
I think you touched a perfect like you opened the space for a perfect example. Very often, and I know you as me, we work with many project managers from all over the world.
Yes.
And too frequently you have a conversation with them and you ask them, okay, so what's the goal of your project? And then they tell you something along the lines of, we have this old application which is now becoming obsolete and we need to replace it with a new one.
Yes.
Say, okay, I understand. That's the deliverable. That's what you are going to deliver. But why are you doing it? Like, what's the real goal? And then they stop. I don't know. That's what we have to do. And then you actually you miss, okay, what's the change that the organization, the sponsor, the person that engaged you with this project, what is the change that they want to trigger because of this deliverable, because of this new application? Maybe it is changing the behavior of some employees, of the colleagues, I don't know, impacting your customer in a certain way. And then even above, what is the value that you're going to provide with this project? We call it value, we can call it benefits. It's like, in the end, what's the point? And
why are we doing this?
Yes. Yeah, too frequently we don't have an answer to this. And this, starting asking those questions, it is what is going to already take you to the next step, to the next level. It's like, okay, now I'm looking at things from a different perspective. It's a journey. It's not something that you will change from one day to another. But this is a type of thinking that you need to start applying.
Yeah, I think it's the why behind the project. And so when you understand the reason behind it, and you can easily say, yes, this obviously makes a lot of sense because it probably helps us become maybe more profitable, or it reduces our risks, whatever the reason is. and then working towards that particular goal makes it clear. And I think it even also makes it clearer for you to help defend your role. Like when you go for your performance reviews with your boss and they talk about what exactly you do. And I remember when I shared the example about the guy at NASA, right, who actually the janitor that cleans the washrooms and says, yeah, but my role, what I do here is I make sure that the toilets are clean, but it's actually meant to ensure that the guys are able to go to space and it goes effectively well. I'm like, oh my goodness, it was like mind blowing. He was able to connect just the piece he does in the washrooms to the overall mission of it being more successful. And that way, like every time you go into these conversations about my job and the next move up, you are able to then have a detailed, like people call it like a brag book, and say, you can say, like last week, I was able to, based on this particular report, we've reduced risks by X, and because of this, we've saved X amount of dollars. And the outcome of that is obviously going to ensure the operations are effectively pushing out the products seamlessly, whatever that looks like. But now you can it's now clear. And even if someone comes and says, you don't really need your role, you can say, please, I have the receipts, right? These are the things that I am actually doing.
That's
and
a
this actually
contribution.
helps.
Yeah. I think this is exactly the gap that we see so frequently between strategy and execution. This is companies having these beautiful strategies. They have their fancy PowerPoint, they have it written on a wall, and then how do you make it actually happen? And this is a gap. Too frequently, it's a gap. You speak with the people on the field and you ask them, how is your job, your day-to-day activity contributing to the big strategic objectives of the company? And sometimes, not always, they know the strategic objective, but they cannot link it. And this is something that needs to be fixed. This is absolutely something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and I think it's also a problem that it's not just even the people, the food soldiers. It's a role that I actually challenge my executives and I say, how are we clearly communicating our strategic objectives, right? Mm-hmm. How are you cascading that at different tiers and different levels of the organization? And then from the direct, reporting manager to be able to say, this is what our job description actually is. This as a guideline. But this is kind of how we map it all. Because I did this particular exercise with a company not too long ago where we looked at the overall organization and we worked with human resource, the project team and the executives say, whatever the overall objective is, we had key performance indicators which tied back to what mattered to the organization. So every line manager had to walk away with like an offsite session with the team to say, this is kind of how we map it, this is what actually happens. And this was part of what teams were being assessed for. But the point is that it took the executive team, it took the human resource group, as well as the individual leadership team to work together to actually make this happen. But to your point, is one that it's a major gap. And it's one that we all need to work together to ensure that it's actually clear. Because someone might say, no, I have my job description. I'm like, when I got a job, they told me this is exactly what I was brought in to do. Yes, I'm meant to check the boxes. And you're like, yes, we know that. But now you have to take the initiative to say, maybe it doesn't exist in my organization. You might need to say, I want to go have a meeting with my manager. I want to go meet the director or the VP and say, I've been wondering, maybe you meet them in the elevator. Those 2 minutes time when you're going up the elevator, you're like, guess what? I learned that we just had this initiative that was just announced maybe on the intranet. And I'm so excited about this. Like, how does this impact this particular project? A quick moment for you to share something, get something out of them. But these are the tricks and tips that I have leveraged. I have been able to make friends with almost everyone. They're like, who is Fola? I'm like, yes, I wanted to. I was always inquisitive. I wanted to learn. I wanted to know more. And believe it or not, so many people knew me for more than I could ever imagine. But if you want to prove your career, those are the things you need to start thinking about. Because you cannot say, because it's not clear, it wasn't given to me, then,
Yeah.
nothing happens. This is a perfect segue, Bruno, to career stagnation. So now we see that a lot of PMs, people come in, the DM especially, and they're like, I've been a project manager for 10 years. Or maybe I've been in this role for 10, 15 years. Like, where do I go from here? Like, what next? What do I do? And then they're like, I've probably tried, I've applied for so many roles, but I haven't been, haven't been successful. It seems like I just have this label on my forehead, project manager. And that's it. They just need a piece of this beard and add to that, But I'm like, and that's the recurring thing. So what exactly is the shift? Because this career stall, there's a lot of it. So what are the common capability gaps that are actually preventing professionals within our world from advancing? And how can we help them with that?
I think we touched already a big chunk of it a few minutes ago, but to give a little bit more even, as a project manager, we all know your goal, it is to deliver the project. That is the number one thing that you have to do. If you don't do that one, everything else will fall apart. So that's a must. It's a must. We know it. Take it as a starting point. Like that, this is where you have to start. Now, how do you build it? How do you build on that? And I think it's about shifting the perspective from being, the person delivering the thing, into influencing the people around you and creating this type of connection. The other day, and I think it was 10 days ago, let's say in the last couple of weeks, I have a perfect example. I wrote about it on LinkedIn about one of my clients in my coaching activity. One of my clients, she was complaining. She's a senior project manager and complaining about the fact that she has to babysit her sponsor. Like literally, that was what she told me. And I said to her, "Look, that's part of your job. It's not about babysitting them, but it's about bringing them into the project, because you cannot talk about project deliverables, the status report. They don't really care. It is what is actually what's their language, what is that they are looking for. And again, it is elevating the conversation into the value. It is bringing them, helping them to see things from your project situation in a way that is aligned with their language, so they get it, they understand it, and all of that activity, it's mandatory. If you want to elevate, if you want to move out of the standard project manager, I'm in this role for 10 years, 20 years, and I cannot move. This is the first step. It is to create this connection, bring your project in a language, in a wording that is understandable for your stakeholders. It's a first step, but it's not something that you do in a couple of days. It takes time.
I think I want to add to that. And for me, I say, what is in it for me? What is in it for Bruno? What is in it for the director? And when you have, as project sponsor, for instance, who it seems like you're babysitting, you're asking, are you truly giving them the information that really matters to them? So for instance, if you come into them to say, we have a major risk, it's going to affect P&L, right? Profit and loss. We're talking about at this particular point, like if we don't actually look at this particular risk, we were looking at a major shift in how it's going to affect, our balance sheet. The balance sheet is going to be affected. Like, what's going on? Like, how? Because you're presenting the data in a way that it's going to catch his attention, or you kind of say you want to give him a status update. You're not telling him the little bit of risk. Or guess what? The project team were late by like a few hours, and maybe our contractors say they won't deliver the goods. But you kind of say that if we don't have this particular item delivered in the next maybe 3 weeks, we're looking at an impact on our product budget by $10.5 million. Now you put a dollar amount to it. They're like, okay, tell me more. So we want to be sure that we are presenting the information in a way that it matches the audience you're presenting it to. And so if you're dealing with, for instance, just your normal product analyst, you give them at that level. But when you're dealing with someone who is a senior leader, they need to understand, like, for whatever the deliverables are and what you're reporting to an executive president, vice president, whatever, he wants to know something that's going to impact his own piece that he could probably even lose his job for. And so I want people who actually listen to now go back and say, and think about it. when you're presenting data or when you're interacting, you want to interact at the level or even higher, understanding who you're dealing with. Because at times, it seems like, all these meetings that should just be an email where people feel that you've brought me into a room, you're talking about all this basic stuff. You could have just sent an email for that. And if they start seeing you like just someone who bogs them and you just keep talking about all these basic things, you're like, oh, please, what's next? But you want to know that, you're helping them look good. So identifying things before they become major, and also coming up with solutions so that way they can say this is option 1, option 2, option 3. If something goes wrong, we know exactly what to do. Have you got anything to add to that? Because that's what I found. And when I see this over and over, I'm like, listen, you could have just sent an email for that. You didn't need to bring us into a room. And even when you start doing your meetings as well, you want to make sure that you want to get out, what are we going to get out of this? What's the reason for this meeting? And what actions or what outcomes do you want to get out of it? So even before you book another meeting with your sponsor or your technical team, they need to be clear to say, before you come into this room, these are the things that we need to get out of it at the end of the day. So that's obviously a great point. So I think the common thread that keeps coming up is, you've actually mentioned emotional intelligence. So connecting your own personal skill, but from a human side, but connecting that back to, where you are, the cultural setup and the setting. You've already mentioned the fact that being more intuitive, you can actually read and understand what's actually coming, leveraging AI and reading all of those tools. So now I want to dive into influence. You mentioned at the start of this to say you move to a point where you're not just delivering, you're influencing. There are these subtle cues. I know it kind of ties into building trusts. This is always a major question. Even at interview, people say, how do you influence without authority, right? You don't have authority to do this. Like, how can you influence and get things done? How have you been able to influence with authority?
Well, for sure, everybody that is listening to this, don't go away thinking, oh, okay, I apply this thing tomorrow and it will change my life. It's a journey.
It's not magic, Bruno. Oh my God, you just broke my. It's not gonna do it. It's not gonna change automatically.
No. It's something that you have to intentionally put
Keep
into. Absolutely. What I have observed, and if you would say it's my recipe, it's not mine. It's not that I build it, but it is what I have observed and what I share with people. Everything needs to start like the foundational of it. You need to build a certain level of trust. If you don't have it, you are not going to move forward. Now, when I say a certain level of trust, you can look at it from different perspectives. Essentially, if I, as an external, I'm going to look at and have a conversation with your manager, with your peers, with the peers of your manager, and I ask them about you, they have to tell me good things. They have to say, oh, yeah, Fola is great. She's great at what she's doing. She's great at delivering projects. She's easy to work with. So build that level of trust. How you do it? The majority, like one of the main elements, it is you need to be or to become exceptionally good at what you have to do at your job. If you are a project manager, you need to become exceptionally good at deliver projects. Now, when you do that, it's like, okay, now you have my attention. Now I know that you're starting from this, and this is when you can then build that type of relationship. There is, of course, other things to add. I mentioned one. I said, be easy to work with. That's another one. It's like we like to work with people that we like to work with. So if you are maybe a fantastic project manager, but damn, it's not easy to work with you. It's always painful. That's not gonna help. That's not gonna help. And I know I had project managers very skilled, but not skilled in this area, and that was difficult for them to change it. But these are the type of things that you have to start with. So be exceptionally good at what you have to deliver, be easy to work with, and then start building those relationships with the people around you. It's not only your manager. It is, of course, your manager, but it is your peers, the peers of your manager, the people that you may have in your project team or in your team if you are a manager. This is it. Like, ensure that you are building around you this aura of, he's a good one, she's a good one.
That's right. And I think I'll probably make it a little bit easier. People kind of hear this word, like, be easy to work with. And someone says, I'm easy to work with, Bruno, but what's going on? So let's keep it simple. You want to make sure that you keep things as simple as possible. So when there's something going on, it has to be clear. Okay? There's a challenge, an issue. Grace is actually clearly communicate, sent an email. These are what the issues are. These are what we need to do. Transparency. Being transparent so people kind of know that this is what's coming. Those are part of things. If you're sharing things that you can start doing so you could be trust and be easy to work with. People kind of know that, yes, this is what you see is what you get. It's not a case of, oh gosh, I'm going to this meeting. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Is it going to be gray, black, blue, or purple? Like, how do I hold myself? Like, people are trying to second guess. No, you don't want that. You want to be transparent. And Bruno's already alluded to that. Reliability. You need to be reliable. Yep. If we say, Glory has this deliverable, she needs to deliver it on Friday. By Thursday, it should already be on the desk of your manager. You are reliable. That was, goodness, I know that if I put that thing up there, Gloria has is going to actually make sure it's actually done. So we talk about transparency, simplicity, simplifying stuff, and then understanding others. And I'll make this pretty simple. There's something called perspective. Depending on where you're looking at something from, you're going to see something different. The power of illusion. And so you can be right, and the other person can also be right because you're looking at the same information, but maybe just from a different perspective. And so for you as a professional, even if you're a business owner, it doesn't even matter. Understanding others just means taking a step back every time to say, okay, I think I understand what is going on, because it's kind of how I've actually seen it. But then ask them the question after a meeting, do you understand, like, what exactly did you understand from what I said? Or what perspective do you see this? Believe it or not, you can open up a can of worms. And I love those can of worms because that way you can tell what's going on. Mm-hmm. Understanding all this and helping them, making sure that they can come back and give you feedback and say, this kind of what I heard. This kind of where the project's actually going. This kind of why I think things are going this particular way. And then you can say, oh, now I get it. I never knew that, there was all of this challenge because I was looking at it from the executive standpoint, like, the helicopter view from the top. I just wanted to get it done. But however, I never realized that maybe two members of the team, you had to take time off because they were sick or something. And so because of that, things fell apart. It wasn't something that was intentional. Understanding people is critical because going back to people never say people never forget what you did, but how you made them feel. Then also there's something about thoughtful accountability. This is kind of where you own the outcome. When things even fail and you open to say something went wrong, I own it. I'm sorry. Just being able to just say that, I didn't have the full picture of it. It wasn't really clear. Let's fix it. Let's kind of walk. I might need to walk maybe 2 or 3 more hours today. And that's fine. But I will put in the hours. I will do the work so we can actually fix it. So thoughtful accountability, all of those things, those are the hidden things that go beyond just a technical competence. But you can actually come up and say, gosh, so when someone thinks about Bruno, like, God, I want to be on Bruno's team, right? Because I know that at the end of the day, they're going to be simple. We know exactly where we're going. And also, he also takes us out for drinks afterwards, Like after a meeting, we know we can go out and relax and put our feet up. But seriously, the subtle things that we don't realize that helps people go up. I have an example of someone. I remember when I used to work for a company years ago. This particular leader used to be like three levels way even below me, although I've actually moved on. She didn't even have like first degree. But believe it or not, a couple of years, she has been moved to a senior leadership role. She's been promoted like 4 times. And you wonder, what exactly is this? She knows how to do the human side.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And she's one that people are like, oh gosh, you know, they want to be around her. And I have another guy as well who had the same example. I'm like, that's why when I mentor and I coach people, I say the technical piece, we can get it. Even I remember a vice president told me we're interviewing for a senior leadership role. He said, we can teach anyone the technical competence. Like people can go and read and pass that. But the human side of it, it's so hard to teach people how to be nice, right? It's so hard to teach people how to listen. Some people always want to win, Bruno. Like, it has to be my idea, it's my way or whatever. I'm like, no, like, we are here to ensure that the organization wins. We are here to ensure that the goals are met. And you putting that and making that front and center. Bruno, say something. You want to say something?
Yeah, because this point, Fola, is incredibly important. Again, depending who is listening to this. If you have someone who is already rather senior, you know, in whatever role you have, and you are knowledgeable, it happened to me. And this example that I'm sharing with you, it is something that you absolutely can apply. I know many of us probably have been there. So I joined this company. I was coming from a much more mature organizations, much more mature PMOs. And I joined this company. And in this company, the PMO was, you know, at a very low maturity level. So I had my look at it. And within a month, I understood there were so many things going wrong. So I had a conversation with the CIO, the guy that hired me. And I asked him, I said, look, based on my skills and knowledge, there are so many things that I can work on, that I can improve. What is that you want me to focus on? And the guy gave me his point, which was very clear. And then I was able to work on it with my team for the next 6 months until we have achieved what he wanted. Now, I could have done it in a different way. I could have said, well, look, I'm the expert here. I know my stuff. I'm telling you what you need. I knew already what he needed back then, but I didn't know what he wanted. So first I had to give him what he wanted. That was for me the way to build the trust with him. When he got it, 6 months later, he was like, you are the man. This is what I needed. Fantastic. And then I said, well, actually, yes, you may needed it, but you need something else. Now, let me tell you what you need. And then I was able to give him what he needed. So that was something that I went through in several moments. This covers all that we mentioned. It's about shifting perspective. It is about looking at things from their point of view. It is about giving them what they want before you are able to giving them what they need. It's all part of this, the evolution that I see in these roles for the next year, for the future. It's incredibly important.
I think that's, goodness, where's time gone? It's almost an hour.
It's gone,
like, yes, and I'm like, when you have like a superstar in the room, like things just go so fast. You're still live on the Strategic Project Leader podcast. We are just at the Strategic Lifestyle segment. Oh my gosh. This is so aligned. Like, we're now talking about how can we become better leaders? Because I believe in the truth, in the fact that project management, this business skills can be applied beyond just organizations. We need to be better leaders. We need to be better people so that we can show up at work and be the best versions of ourselves. So now on a personal level, how can we become better leaders that we can bring our better selves to the workplace? What has helped you as a leader as well from a personal development standpoint?
Many things, but the first one, like the foundational of everything, is this concept of continuous learning. Every day I am learning something new. And in the past, it may have been very focused on what, you know, my field of expertise, let's say project management. But then over time, it definitely became broader. So every day I'm learning something new. There are moments in my weeks in which I have focused time to learn new stuff. And I do it in, there is not one simple way to do it. It depends from you. You could be watching something. It could be joining podcasts like this one, speaking with a coach. I learn a lot from all the coaches and the mentees that I support. I learn so much from them. It's a big part of the things that I do, and it's beautiful. So learning, keep on learning. Stay curious, because there is so much going on, and it may impact you one way or another. Now, when you go through that, have also some time to look at to reflect on what you have done in the past week, in the past month, and look at it as, okay, is there anything that I should change? What could I do better, or what could I do different next time to achieve what I actually missed this time? And these are it's a mental approach that keeps you going through this process. Yes, this definitely Fola was story of my life, I would say.
I know for sure, like the act of continuous learning. I love calling myself a lifelong student. I'm a student of life, right? Like, yeah. And but one thing that I always add to that is, I know I learned, I also want to unlearn.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I pick up this new skills, I always need to go back and assess and say, what are these old dated things that I've always had that I should probably just throw away, which don't actually make sense anymore? And so going through, because I created a tool called what I call a B SWOT. We do a normal SWOT analysis, which is a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. But I always add what I call the blind spots. What are the things as well that I may not see, I may not even be aware of, that I need to go in and probably just click delete on? And this means, as you said, like going and getting some feedback, trying to understand like what's new, what's next, but what exactly is it in me that I probably need to also get rid of? So almost putting myself through a cleansing phase to say, I want to show up every day. I want to show up being the best version of myself. But that actually means me always recalibrating, going back to the wheels and say, okay, what's shifting? What's changing? I love the way Bruno said, if it's going to be podcast and reading, maybe now I know that there's even open. Now I do a lot of I listen to stuff more, because at times I can't even take time to really get a physical book. And so rather than saying that I'm too tired to read, I get a book and I just listen. And they would even my style initially, and I have to, this is almost like a confession moment. I am one who used to multitask a lot, Bruno, where I'm I could be typing, someone is talking to me, I'm listening. But over time, I realized that for the other person, especially my team, no one even told me that. But I think I started to ask them for a 360 feedback. And I said, what's really going on? And they told me, they're like, oh, Fola, I know that at times I come into your office and you're talking about stuff, but maybe you may just still be working on a particular document. I never thought it was even anything. But, but now I want to give that undivided attention. I want to have that eye contact. Okay, what's really going on? And so all my multitasking thing, my husband tells me that, you're not being as effective as I thought. So now I'm having to unlearn that habit to say one thing at a time. So when I'm doing that, I just have to focus on that. But that's all the lifelong journey and process of being a better leader. So as I learn, I unlearn, I recalibrate, and I make sure that I am always trying to stay ahead of the curve rather than just waiting for you to, to catch up with me. Gosh, this is great. And so we need to pretty try and get into the... Bruno is on the hot seat. So let's quickly, we're going to try, let's get in the mystery question in and see how we can get through one or two. What has been your greatest career challenge and how have you been able to overcome it?
The greatest challenge was the shift from individual contributor to a manager of a team. That change, that moment which for me it happened in 2017. It was a challenge. I clearly saw it as a challenge even before accepting this opportunity. But I'm always up for new challenges. But that was definitely the biggest one. It is where I had to unlearn a lot, because what made me successful in my journey, it was not going to make me successful in this new role. I had to learn what it means to be a leader. I had to that period. I've always learned new stuff, as I just said, but that period was focused on leadership. And then, of course, I ended up designing my approach, something that I have tried, tested, made mistakes, learned from the mistakes. But that shift, that change from being responsible for the job into being responsible for the people who are responsible for the job, it was the biggest change. Yes, and the biggest challenge. Absolutely.
That's a great one. And I think it's one that a lot of people probably go through, and you never really think about that, because there's a shift in how you show up, how you lead, and how you ensure that definitely people, the people you now have underneath you, kind of, right, is still serving the organization that you're trying to report up to, and then to get the value as well from there. Oh gosh, good stuff. Let's just see if we can.
I can tell you. Yep. I can tell you, Paula, it is something very common when I have it in one of my keynotes, when I speak about that, when I am on stage and I share that, and I see the people, I see their faces, like, yeah, I've been there myself. And also a lot of the coaches approaching me, they approach me because of that, because they became now manager first time and they don't know what to do. So yeah,
exactly. And at times, but the thing is, and it's one that even organizations do not prepare a lot of people for as well. It's easy to say you got a promotion, but before they do that, have you put structures in place to ensure that you're successful? Have you buddy them up with a mentor who can help show them the ropes? But a lot of the times people have to figure out, and you're just scrambling, what do I do on day one? How do I show up? Kind of thing. And ensuring that we have people who can put together those tools to make sure that they're actually successful as they transition. Because hopefully for everyone who's obviously listening, you're going to have that move. You're going to, go from a contributor, you're going to have a small team to a large team to a global team. It takes skill, it takes work, but you have to be prepared for that as well. So yeah, we could try to check one more question before we go. I can't even believe that we're already on top of the hour. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Overall, we've touched so many things. We've already targeted the soft skills. We've talked about human capabilities. We've talked about the technical piece. What would you say? How do you pull a bore on it? Overall, for everyone listening, saying, to future-proof my career, what would be that golden nugget that brings it all together, Bruno?
Consider that whatever is the role that you have, whatever is the job that you have, you are a piece into a much bigger picture. Of course, you need to know everything about your piece, about your garden, but start understanding what's around you. What's the big picture? Who is doing what? Who is connected with whom? What is actually that the organization or the team is trying to achieve? So have a look at the overall picture. Get to understand what is the contribution that you and your project and your team are delivering within that big frame. This is one step. It's not the only step, but it is definitely one step. Under this umbrella, we can potentially put all the elements that we talk about. Develop yourself, learn every day, unlearn the wrong things, use your judgment, stay human in the connection with other humans. These are all important elements, but have a look at the big picture.
We know there's so much to definitely unpack with our guest, Bruno, but we want to know, how can people actually reach and contact you? Because we know there's so much more you have to give. You talk and you speak all over the world as well. But if people want to reach out to you, let people know what you do and how you add value in our community.
The best way to reach out to me is probably my website, which is brunomorgante.com. Of course, you find me on almost all social media. Clearly, on LinkedIn, you find me, and it's probably the best place to start a conversation together with my website. What do I do? I would say 3 big elements. So one of them, it is supporting organizations into this beautiful journey that we have described. It could be about building up a project organization, a project team, a project management office, or bringing it to another level. It could be advising on strategy execution. So again, taking this beautiful strategy and actually making it happen. How do we do it? It is inspiring and building exceptional teams. With the individuals, I do support a lot of them with the coaching or mentoring one-on-one, also a little bit of group, but usually one-on-one. And we touch topics, again, everything that we touch today. There is leadership, communication, personal growth, career development, and of course, project management. And then the third area is about the speaking engagements. So it is me going around speaking for organizations or at conferences. There is always a lot of storytelling in all my talks, in the workshops that I facilitate. It is my way to contribute to leave this world a better place, to empower the people around me to do better.
Thank you so much. That has actually been awesome. And I love the fact that you've put all of this together. But for everyone who's actually watching us, I want you to remember it's all about being human. Because at the end of the day, computers and technologies would actually come through, but your human advantage will be one that will set you apart. And we summarized it by saying, always have that holistic strategic thinking. Think about how everything you're doing today connects back to the bigger picture, balancing the longer term with the shorter term impact. Ensure that you bring that uncertainty piece where you want to understand what are the risks involved, what judgments, what are the timings as well, what's the cost of that decision. Being more meaningful when you create, ensure that you understand the cultural perspective, understand the organization's even the nuances around the stories behind why we're doing it as well. Adaptive collaboration. How adaptive are you? Are you one who's actually able to pivot and change? And for me, it's about that neuroscience, bringing that human element, psychology, to understand why are we doing what we're doing and what truly matters. Removing the groupthink, the confirmation bias, right? The status quo piece. You don't want any of that. Help yourself become more human. Stand out and build trust and become what? The leader that everyone definitely wants to work with. It's been a great pleasure to be with you today, Bruno. We want to say thank you for being here today. It's been so much. We know there's so much more to definitely get into and unpack. It means you have to come back pretty soon. We want to say thank you for everyone who has actually joined us. I want to specifically thank everyone. We had Ghana in the house, we had Nigeria, we had the US, we had Canada, we had Evelyn, we had Talvina, we had Glory. I just want to say, I can't even name everyone. I want to say thank you so much for being here. It's been a great pleasure. It's always a joy to come into your homes to actually share all this great insights to help you not only just elevate, but also create the life you don't need a vacation from. Create an organization where you are definitely proud to be part of and teams that become more successful at the end of the day. But guess what? Same time next week, we're going to be here with another fantastic guest who's going to be blown out of the park. Yes. We're going to be talking about all things strategy, leadership, and business and technology, but everything to help you elevate and become your best self. All right. Thank you so much. And let me know in the comments, are you watching this on the replay or did you watch it live as well? We want to say thank you. And we say stay strategic because you've actually got this. Have a good one. Bye-bye.